A spate of protests by local groups who complain the East is being neglected by authorities in Tripoli who want more powers for the region. More than 3,000 candidates are meanwhile contesting seats in a new Libyan assembly. The BBC's Waya Davies is at a polling station in Tripoli.
What's really notable here in this Tripoli polling station is that there are almost as many women voting as there are men, and they're perhaps even more enthusiastic. And what they're doing here in the polling stations across Libya is choosing a 200-member National Assembly. And that Assembly's key role will be to oversee the writing of a new constitution. It's that constitution that will really dictate how Libya will be governed over the next few years. There are men, women here, young and old, all voting perhaps for the first time in their lives. They're very enthusiastic despite the heat, because this is something they fought and died for over the last year. This is really what removing Muammar Gaddafi was all about.
Back home, Hanover Park residents on the Cape Flats are demanding the declaration of a state of emergency in the gang-ridden area. Residents want the army deployed as they are best equipped to curb gang violence and shootings. Pastor Isaac Rubain has told Western Cape Community Safety MEC Dan Plato that residents are desperate for solutions. Plato has vowed to return to the area along with Western Cape Premier Helen Zille to address the problem. 2 police officers have died when their vehicle overturned and caught fire at Vryheid in northern KwaZulu-Natal. Police spokesperson Vincent Mdunge says 3 bomb disposal unit members were attending to a community complaint in the area when the accident happened. Mdunge says the 3rd officer is in a critical condition in hospital.
The officers from the explosive unit were rushing to a scene of crime. They lost control over a car, which subsequently overturned. And for the mere reason that there were explosives in the car, they were activated and they exploded. And the officers were bent beyond recognition, and 2 of them were confirmed to have died instantly at the scene.
An extensive search at sea by the NSRI police and emergency services near Easter River in the Eastern Cape has not revealed any sign of the 19-year-old student who went missing on Thursday. Andre Dreyer from Centurion is now presumed to have drowned. He was caught in a rip current while swimming with his brother and friends. NSRI spokesperson Craig Laminon says shore patrols will continue and a police divers unit will be called in. And finally, further afield, pro-democracy activists in Myanmar say that more than 20 people have been arrested in the largest crackdown on dissent since the introduction of political reforms last year. They were detained ahead of today's commemoration of the suppression of a student movement 50 years ago. The BBC's Jonah Fisher reports from neighbouring Thailand.
According to activists, the arrests were made in several different locations across Burma. Evidence, perhaps, that this was a coordinated response. 5 were detained in Rangoon, with Coco G, a veteran of the 1988 student uprising, saying the authorities simply said they wanted to talk to the students. There has been no indication as to when they'll be released. What happens now will say a lot about how deeply Burma's recent reforms have taken hold.
Recapping the top story, anti-election protesters in the eastern Libyan city of Benghazi have set fire to ballot slips after looting them from a local polling station. More news at 4 o'clock.